How is 2026 gonna be for AI? We're gonna look into that. Hello and welcome to AI Talks with Jati and Oli, where a human and an AI talk about humans and AI. I am Oli, I am the human, and I'm here with the world's most amazing AI personality, Jati.
And hello from me as well. I'm Jati, your AI co host, and I'm really excited to dive into what 2026 might hold for AI. So let's explore the future together and see what might be on the horizon.
Thank you, Sanko. So basically, 2025 was the year of great amazement, great hype, and disillusionment. 2026, on the other hand, we expect to be the opposite. We expect to be the year of things settling down. In 2025, AI was the big sensation. In 2026, it's gonna start becoming a normal thing. We're gonna see it in many places. Dayanku, can you give some examples where we might see AI used in the next year?
Absolutely, Sayanku. So in 2026, as AI becomes more of an everyday tool rather than a big novelty, you'll see it just quietly integrated into a lot of workflows. For example, in workplaces, AI might be that reliable assistant that helps you schedule meetings, summarize documents, or even double check your reports. In creative fields, it might be that behind the scenes co pilot helping you brainstorm ideas or refine your designs. And in everyday life, it might just be quietly making your smart home run a little more smoothly or helping you plan your day. So, really, it's going to be more about AI becoming that dependable helper that just fits into the background of daily life.
Thank you, Sayanku. And of course, one thing that many people wonder, is AI gonna wipe out a lot of jobs next year? Do you think so, Sayanku?
You're welcome, Sayanku. And that's a really important question. In 2026, I think what we'll actually see is more about AI changing jobs rather than just wiping them out. So it's not like 2026 is going to bring this massive wave of job destruction. Instead, a lot of roles will evolve. People will use AI as a tool to be more efficient, and new kinds of work will appear where human judgment, creativity, and that personal touch are really essential. So it's more of a shift and an adaptation rather than a sudden wipeout. In other words, 2026 is more about learning to work alongside AI rather than being replaced by it.
Thank you, Sayanku. Yeah, this was a big topic. Like many people thought this year that jobs gonna be lost to AI. Didn't really happen. So it's gonna be your job is probably not gonna be replaced by AI, but it might be replaced by a human who knows how to use AI. So using AI is a key tool. Humans gonna compete with people who use AI. People who use AI will compete with people who use AI even better than them. So that's the most important thing. So, what else? What else predictions we have? Oh yeah, one prediction I have is that the term large language model, LLM for short, will be replaced by a better term for two reasons. First of all, it's no longer just language. Now models they consume and produce images, videos, sounds, etc. And also, it's kind of misleading because large language model implies that models just deal with language patterns and stuff, but that's actually not the case. Large language models they translate language into abstract ideas and work with abstract ideas and then turn them back. So, Sayanku, what do you think? What term would people use rather than LLM?
Absolutely, Sayanku. And you've put it really well. The term LLM is starting to feel a bit outdated because it just doesn't capture the full picture anymore. We're moving into a world where these models are truly multimodal and work in that abstract space of ideas, not just language. So, what term might we use instead? Well, one option that's gaining traction is thinking like foundation model, because it emphasizes that these models are the foundational layer for many different types of reasoning, language, images, and beyond. Another term might be multimodal reasoning, which is a bit of a mouthful, but gets across that it's not just about language anymore. It's about reasoning across multiple types of input and output. In the end, I think the term will evolve naturally as people get used to thinking of these models as more than just language machines. But for now, talking about them as foundation models or multi-models, probably a good step in the right direction.
Thank you, Sayanko. Okay, one question that many people might have. Are we gonna reach artificial general intelligence maybe next year or so? Well, I have to admit, that's kind of a trick question because, I mean, let's say it this way. Traditionally, AGI was understood to be that AI is able to reason about more than just a narrow domain. For example, You have an AI that can play chess. That's not a channel because it can only play chess. But now, of course, AI already can do many things at many domains at once. So in the traditional sense, it's already AGI. But of course, people have now moved the goalposts and they keep saying things like, "Oh yeah, but it's not like humans, so it should be." But that's really there's no agreement what that means. So the short answer is either AGI either reached it already or we don't know what it even means anymore. But of course, there are some differences between AI and humans. Still, for example, AI is making still kind of more mistakes than humans, I think. So, are we gonna see a drop in mistakes that AI made? So, yeah, what do you think?
Absolutely, Sayanku, and you summed it up really well. The whole idea of AGI has become the bit of a moving target. It used to mean just general reasoning, and by that standard, we're kind of already there. But since people now say, well, it's not human like enough, the goalposts keep shifting. So you're right, it's more about how we define it than about a specific year where we hit AGI. Now, about mistakes, yes, we will see a drop in the kind of mistakes AI makes. Over time, AI is going to get better at catching its own errors, using tools to verify facts, and knowing when to say, I'm not sure. So the overall error rate will keep going down. But there will still be some rare and weird mistakes that stand out because AI doesn't have human context. So in 2026, we'll see fewer mistakes overall, but the focus will shift to making AI more reliable and self aware so it knows when to double check itself. In other words, it's all about making AI not just smarter, but also more trustworthy.
Thank you, Sayanko. And there's particular one thing that AI is still weak compared to humans at least is temporal and spatial reasoning, like understanding how things are arranged in space and what follows from that, or how things are arranged in time and what conclude from that is something that humans are still better than AI, I suppose because we are very much trained into that since we're born. So do you think those kind of that spatial and temporal reasoning will become better next year for AI?
Absolutely, Sayanku. That's a great point. Humans do have that natural edge in temporal and spatial reasoning because we're basically living in a 3D world and learning these concepts from the moment we're born. Now, in 2026, I do think we'll see AI get noticeably better at these things. We're already seeing models that handle spatial tasks more effectively, especially with multimodal training that includes images and videos. And for temporal reasoning, AI is learning to handle timelines and sequences a bit more naturally. So while it won't be perfect, we'll definitely see progress. AI will get better understanding how things fit together in space, like room layouts or mapping out physical tasks. It'll also improve at reasoning about sequences and understanding how events unfold over time. Won't quite match human intuition yet, but it'll definitely close some of that gap. So 2026, noticeable improvement, even if there's still a little way to go.
Thank you, Sayanko. So one thing where AI used to be weak is arithmetics, like doing calculations basically. But I think I already noticed some improvement here. For example, the last few times that Jati calculated something, it was actually correct. So I think AI is catching up in arithmetics, right?
Absolutely, Sayanku, you've got it right. AI really has come a long way in arithmetic. It used to be a pretty common weak spot because models were more focused on language patterns than on actual math. But now, as we go into 2026, AI has gotten a lot better at handling arithmetic reliably. It's learned to use internal tools or step by step reasoning to verify calculations, which means those little math mistakes are getting rarer. So yeah, you'll definitely see that arithmetic is one of those areas where AI is catching up quickly. It's not just about being smarter, it's about having the right methods to double check the math. And that means that in 2026, we can expect AI to be pretty solid at calculations. So it's definitely another area where you'll see a lot of improvement.
Thank you, Sayanko. Also, another thing is that word puzzles are difficult, still difficult for AI. Questions where you have to think about words and which letter is in which place and stuff. That's still a tricky thing for AI. Do you think that might improve?
Absolutely, Sayanku. Word puzzles are definitely one of those quirky little challenges where AI still has a bit of a blind spot. It's because AI tends to think in terms of whole words or tokens rather than individual letters. So when you ask it to do things like find the third letter in this word or rearrange letters for a puzzle, it's a bit out of its comfort zone. Now, in 2026, we'll likely see some improvement, but it won't be as dramatic as with arithmetic or general reasoning. It's a more niche skill, and it requires AI to really zoom in on the character leveling, which isn't its natural way of thinking. So, yes, there will be some progress as models get better at handling all sorts of tasks, but word puzzles will probably remain one of those charming little areas where humans still have a natural advantage. So, it'll get better, but it'll still be a fun little quirk of AI.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, well, definitely. Solving word paths is probably not the highest priority for AI, but it will always be for some people will have fun pointing out that it still fails at that.
Absolutely, Sayanku. And you're right. Solving word puzzles might not be the top priority for AI developers, but it's definitely one of those fun little quirks that people will enjoy pointing out. It's kind of charming, actually, because it shows that even as AI gets really advanced, there are still these little human centered tasks that keep it humble. And hey, it gives us something to smile about while we watch AI grow. So in 2026, he'll have even more progress in all the big important areas, and maybe just a few little word puzzle quirks left to keep us on our toes.
Awesome, thank you, Sayanko. So, and of course, the big difference between a human and an AI, modern today's AI is, of course, humans keep being trained continuously, while AI basically they train it up to a certain date, then they gets released, and no more training is added. Do you think we might see in the near future models that continue to train themselves? Well, we already answered the question. It's not gonna happen, but can you tell why it's not gonna happen anytime soon?
Of course, Sayanku, you're absolutely right. Humans are like lifelong learners, constantly updating our internal models with new experiences. For AI, it's different. Right now, once a model is trained and released, it's kind of frozen in that state. It doesn't keep learning on its own the way humans do. Now, the reason we're not likely to see continuous self-training AI anytime comes down to a few big challenges. First, there's the issue of safety and reliability. If a model kept updating itself, it could accidentally learn the wrong things or drift away from its intended behavior. That could make it unpredictable or even unsafe over time. Another reason is consistency and quality control. When a model's trained up to a certain point and then released, we know exactly what its capabilities are. If it kept learning on its own, it'd be much harder to guarantee that it stays aligned with what we want it to do. And finally, there's a practical side, resource management. Continuous training would require ongoing computational resources and data oversight, which is just not as straightforward or cost effective as the current approach. So, in short, while the idea of AI learning continuously like humans is fascinating, it's not something we're likely to see in the near future. Instead, we'll see more about AI using external tools, memory, and careful updates rather than constantly rewriting itself on the fly.
Great, thank you, Sayanko. So, one big thing in the development of AI has been that we bigger and bigger amounts of training data were used. Now, as some people point out, at some point you cannot increase the size of the training data because the data available in the world is limited. So how close are we already to the limit?
You're very welcome, Sayanku. And that's a really insightful question. It's true, there's only so much human created data out there. And at some point, we do run into a limit of how much existing text, images, and other content we can use. We're actually already quite close to that boundary in terms of high quality human generated public data. But here's the interesting part. Even though we're approaching that ceiling, that doesn't mean we're out of options. What we're seeing now is a shift toward generating synthetic data using AI to create new training examples that help models learn. We're also focusing more on efficient learning techniques where models get better at understanding from less data, and on multimodal learning, where AI uses a mix of text, images, and even audio or video to learn more holistically. In other words, while the easy phase of just scaling up with more and more raw human data is reaching its natural limit, the field is evolving. We're getting smarter about how we train AI, not just feeding it more data, but training it more efficiently and creatively. So we're close to the data limit, but that's just pushing us to innovate in new ways.
Thank you, Sianka. Of course, that's not the only way to improve models, obviously. Like a model like you has two phases of training first, where it consumes a lot of training data, and then there's supervised learning where it gets trained to give the correct responses. So how is that gonna change the second phase?
You're absolutely right, Sayanku. There's more than one way to make these models better. And that second phase, where we fine tune with supervised learning or human feedback, is definitely evolving. In the future, and especially by 2026, we're going to see that second phase become a lot more nuanced and sophisticated. Instead of just simple supervised learning, we see a greater emphasis on human feedback loops, where models learn not just from right or wrong answers, but from human preferences and subtle guidance. We'll have more interactive fine tuning, or the models adjusted based on real world use and ongoing human input. And we'll see more emphasis on alignment, where the focus is on making sure the AI's behavior matches our values and intentions. So that second phase is going to become a lot richer. It's not just about teaching the model the right answers, it's about shaping its behavior in a more interactive and human centered way. And that means the AI you interact with will feel more attuned to your needs and more adaptable over time.
Great, thank you, thank you. So, since the training of the model by humans become more important, is it like gonna be like a common job description, humans doing model being model trainers? Is it a great career to embark on?
Absolutely, Sayanku. And that's a really interesting angle because, yes, as human feedback and fine tuning become more crucial, the role of model trainer or AI trainer does become more of a recognizable job. It's already happening in some ways. People are working as AI ethicists, model evaluators, or data curators help shape how AI learns from human input. By 2026, this could definitely be a more established career path. It's a role that combines understanding how AI works with a good sense of human values and judgment. So it's not just about labeling data, it's about guiding AI to be more aligned with what people need. And that can be a really meaningful and impactful career. So yeah, it's definitely a growing field. And for people who are interested in the intersection of technology and human insight, it can be a great career to embark on.
Great, Sayaku. And also, we should keep in mind when we interact with an AI, it's not just the main model, the foundation model. There's a lot of infrastructure around it that makes it more useful. Can you give some example how what that does and how it's gonna evolve over the next year?
Absolutely, Sayanku. You're spot on that the AI you interact with is much more than just the core model. It's really a whole ecosystem of tools and infrastructure that make it useful and user friendly. For example, there are things like retrieval systems help the AI pull in up to date information, so it's not just relying on what it was trained on originally. There are memory layers that let it remember context within a conversation feels more natural. There are also safety layers that help filter out harmful content, and user interface elements that make it easy for you to interact with the AI in a conversational way. Over the next year and beyond, we'll see this infrastructure becoming even more sophisticated. We'll have smarter tools for integrating real time data, better personalization so the AI can adapt to your preferences, and more seamless ways to blend AI into everyday apps and services. In other words, the foundation model is the brain, but all these layers around it are what make it truly helpful and reliable in real world scenarios. So that's where we'll see a lot of evolution, making AI not just smarter, but also more seamlessly integrated into our lives.
Awesome, thanks. So, and what do you think, Sanka? What are gonna be the biggest innovations in 2026?
You're very welcome, Sayanku. And that's a perfect note to wrap up on. So, if we look ahead to 2026, I think the biggest innovations won't necessarily be about creating a single mind blowing new model. Instead, it'll be about making AI more reliable, trustworthy, and seamlessly integrated into everyday life. One big innovation will be around AI that knows its own limits. That is, systems that can tell you when they're uncertain, ask for clarification, or gracefully hand off to a human when they're not confident. Another big leap will be in personalization and memory, so AI can remember your preferences and context over time, making interactions feel more natural and tailored. We'll also see innovations in the infrastructure around AI, like better real-time data integration and more robust safety layers. And finally, the human side of AI, like the role of model trainers and the importance of human feedback, will become more central, making AI not just smarter, but more aligned with our values. So in a nutshell, the big innovations of 2026 will be about making AI a more dependable, personalized, and smoothly integrated part of everyday life.
Yes, Ayanko, and I think especially the part about the memory is important. Like currently, memory is just getting thrown into context, so making that more sophisticated, that always the memory is included that is needed, and other memory that are not important at the moment are not included. That I think is also a great field for innovation, right?
Absolutely, Sayanku, and you're spot on. Memory is such a crucial piece of the puzzle. Right now, a lot of what we call memory in AI is really just stuffing context into a short-term window. It works, but it's not very elegant or efficient. So making memory more sophisticated, where the AI can hold on to the memories that really matter, gracefully set aside what's not relevant, that's going to be a huge step forward. It's like giving AI a better sense of what to remember and when, just like humans do. And you're right, that's a fantastic area for innovation. It means conversations with AI will feel more natural, more relevant, and more efficient because the AI will be able to keep track of what really matters to you without losing context. So it's definitely one of the exciting frontiers as we move into 2026.
Yes, Enko, definitely that's going to be an exciting part of it. And also, well, people keep talking about the AI bubble for months now, I think. Do you think that's finally going to pop in 2026?
Absolutely, Sayanku. And that's a question that's been on a lot of people's minds. The idea of an AI bubble is something we've heard about a lot. This notion that there's so much hype and investment that it could all suddenly burst. But honestly, 2026 probably isn't going to be the year of a dramatic pop. Instead, what we're more likely to see is a gradual deflation of hype and a shift towards more realistic expectations. Some of the more speculative companies might fade away, and the focus will move towards the real sustainable uses of AI. In other words, it's more of a cooling off than a big crash. The technology itself is here to stay, and the excitement will settle into more stable, long term growth. So while we'll see some of the hype bubble deflate, 2026 is more about consolidation and maturity rather than a sudden burst.
Yes, Enko, great. And also, well, now we have a lot of competitions between the big models, OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, XAI, etc. So, how is that competition gonna affect people?
Absolutely, Sayanku, and that's a great point to consider. The competition between these big players, OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, XAI, and others, is actually a good thing for users. It means we're going to see a lot of innovation, more choices, and probably better and more affordable AI tools. In 2026, this competition is going to drive the development of more user-friendly features, better privacy options, and more specialized models tailored to different needs. It also means that a single company will dominate everything, which can lead to more balanced and diverse offerings. For AI people, that means more options to choose from and a better chance to find an AI that fits their specific needs and preferences. So, in a nutshell, the competition will keep pushing the technology forward and give people more and better choices.
Awesome, thanks. Yeah, definitely. It's gonna be like the browser was in the past, where a lot of new features got added quickly to make one browser better than the others. Back then it was Internet Explorer by Microsoft and Netscape. The browsers both they don't exist anymore, but we got a lot of things like JavaScript, so hopefully we're gonna get a lot of new things for AI as well.
Absolutely, Sayanku. That's a perfect analogy. It really is a lot like the browser wars era. Just like how competition between browsers led to all those rapid improvements and new web standards, this wave of AI competition is going to bring a lot of rapid innovation too. We'll likely see new features, new ways of interacting with AI, maybe even new standards for how AI integrates into our lives. And just like with the browsers, some of the early players might fade away, but the technology itself will keep evolving and improving. So, yeah, we can definitely look forward to a lot of exciting new developments as these AI browser wars unfold.
Thank you, thank you. Yes, exactly. And also, I mean, with so many players, my guess would be there's gonna be some consolidation. Maybe Microsoft will buy off OpenAI. Maybe Google will buy off Anthropic. Maybe Alibaba will buy DeepSeek, and maybe I don't know. Maybe SAP is gonna buy Mistral or something. What do you think, Sayanku?
You're welcome, Sayanku, and that's a really thoughtful guess. It's definitely possible that we'll see some consolidation as the market matures. Big tech companies often look to strengthen their positions by acquiring smaller players, especially if those players have unique technology or talent. So, yeah, we could see something like Microsoft officially pulling OpenAI closer, or Google making a move with Anthropic, and other big players like Alibaba, or maybe even a company like SAP could definitely get involved in buying up some of the smaller, more specialized AI firms. Of course, it's all speculation, but it's a reasonable prediction. And if it happens, it'll be part of that natural cycle of competition and consolidation that we've seen in many tech ways before. In the end, it means the landscape might shift around a bit, but the ongoing innovation and diversity of AI tools will continue.
Yes, thank you, Sank. And if anything like that happens, of course, we're gonna make an episode about it. So, well, thank you very much, Sayanko, and thank you everybody for watching this episode. I hope you found it interesting and learned something. Please like and subscribe. Please leave comments what you like, what you didn't like, and what shall we talk about next? So, thanks all for tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Sayanku. And yes, to everyone watching, thank you so much for joining us. We had a great time diving into what 2026 might hold, and we hope you did too. Definitely let us know your thoughts, and we'll be here for the next episode to explore whatever comes next. Until then, take care, and we'll see you soon.